talking about it, as I mentioned, on my Patreon account. So if you want to find out what stocks I am currently looking at investing in, head over to Patreon and become part of the family. Also, this Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will be doing a stock market Q&A. I go a lot deeper on Patreon, a lot more personal. So if you are loving Let There Be Lose and you want to go even deeper, head over there for only $8 a month. As I mentioned, today we are going to be diving into topics that are going to aid the teaching that I talked about a couple of weeks ago on the reticular activating system. We're going to do this in a two-part series. I first want to talk to you about two words that penetrate our collective that I use all the time, that I really want to shift your perspective on how you see these two words and how you utilize these two words. An important concept that I want to remind you of that I talked about in the RAS episode was the one that Napoleon Hill came up with back in the late 1930s. It was a detailed explanation of how 98% of people were living in bondage, unable to break free from habits, and how 2% of people were consciously reprogramming their minds, breaking themselves free from all bondage. We have grown up in a system that has perfectly placed us in bondage, that has continuously conditioned us, all the way from our school system. If you went to a normal school system, a public school system, which most of us did, I did, as well as the government. The government has also placed us in a system that is in bondage. Understanding these concepts, dropping the veil, being able to see beyond, having a clear picture of how systems work can be a really crucial component to your spiritual growth, to your personal breakthrough, to understanding the power that you have to really truly create the life that you desire. If you have this desire to create a life that is beyond what you feel you are capable of, that is your higher self, that is your consciousness trying to break you free from the system that we grew up in. Napoleon Hill did a ton of studies on this concept a long time ago. This is ancient knowledge. This isn't anything new. These aren't woohoo concepts that are new age. This is actually old age. As you move deeper and deeper into your spiritual journey, into your growth, into developing your own personal belief system that is rebuilding your foundation, rebuilding your personal beliefs, you will attract this information more and more. I attracted this information during a time when I was doing a little takeover for We All Grow Latina. I began to hyper-focus on the concepts that we needed to follow the seasons cycle and sort of mimic them in order to develop internal growth. I go down the rabbit hole with a concept and I focus on it until I find answers. And so what I realize is that every time I am doing this, what I'm actually doing is manifesting my own personal intentions. I'm manifesting the answers to the questions that I have. This is why it is so important for us to develop our own personal relationships with self. Ask self our own personal questions about our own desires so that we can find the answers that we seek. It is truly about maximizing our brain and making it work to find those answers. We are so dependent on information outside of us. What we don't understand, that truly all the information we need to seek is solely within. I wanted to share medical definitions of two important words that I know I use a lot, that I feel the collective uses a lot. When I found these definitions, they truly blew my mind and gave me a completely different perspective. The first word I want to share with you is focus. And the textbook definition to that is the center of interest or activity. But the medicine definition of this word is the principal site of an infection or other disease. So many of us are sick. We are sick of being sick. So we have set off on the spiritual journey to figure out how to heal ourselves. This is our focus. Our focus is the site of infection or other disease. Once we set off on this journey, the universe, source, our brain has no other option but to yield to our desires and surface the answers that we are seeking. This is law. This is our right. We deserve to be able to heal ourselves, and that is the information that we are coming upon. I honestly believe that this virus is a necessary one, and it is going to be a great teacher for those that are working through breaking free from our systems. We currently have the ability to face fear head on, but we also have an opportunity to be 100% responsible for our own actions. I really truly feel that this is going to create a really big shift in consciousness. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that looks like. It just feels that way to me. How we handle our own emotions, how responsible we are during this moment in time. Another definition that I want to talk about is the word intention. The textbook definition is a thing intended, an aim, or a plan. The medicine textbook definition of the word intention is the healing process of a wound. The healing process of a wound. And the medicine textbook definition for focus is the principal site of an infection or other disease. When I came across this information, it completely blew my mind to begin with. One, because I feel that during our spiritual journey, what we need to do is 100% focus on our wounds. But I want to be very clear of what I mean by focusing on our wounds. We need to shift the way we focus. It is not focusing on what is wrong with our wound, but we need to shift the focus to what is the solution for our wounds. We ask the questions. That's where we begin. Begin to ask the questions, how do I heal this wound? Instead of focusing on, oh my goodness, I have this wound. I have this wound. I have this wound. When we do that, we begin to see the wound expand. Instead, how do I heal this wound? We will begin to receive the answers on how to heal it. And so what we need to do is set the intention for the process of healing the wound. The biggest power that we have, the biggest form of control that we have is the type of intentions that we set. We are all intention driven, but what is the intention behind what you want to achieve? Is it tied to the ego? Is it tied to fear? Is it tied to scarcity? Is it tied to hate? Not all intentions are good intentions. That's why we see poor manifestations of set intentions. A lot of the times we get confused on why we're actually setting the intention. We need to be very clear on what the energy is behind the intention you're setting. Is it to prove someone wrong? Is it to satisfy a part of you that believes that you're better than others? Is it a part of you that wants to demonstrate how separate we are from one another? Let's be mindful of the types of intentions that we are placing out there, because when we set these types of intentions with negative energy, with negative vibrations, what happens is that they completely manifest and we get caught up in a cycle, or we get caught up in a web that we are weaving. Anytime trauma happens, anytime something negative happens, there was an intention, there was an alignment, there was a vibrational match within your body that called that action towards you. It could have been that you were courted to someone, courted, C-O-R-D-E-D. We're going to get into courted in a couple of episodes later on what that means and how dangerous being courted is, and how our collective is constantly courting themselves to other people to lower vibrations because they are in a space of judgment. So we'll talk about that in the future. But right now, I really want us to focus on the energy behind intention and what that actually means for us. I was called to do research on intention setting and what focusing means. And when I decided to do something really cheesy and look up the textbook word. The medicine text for both of these words surfaced, and it was almost as if I had found exactly what I was looking for. Shortly after I found these words, I then started to uncover more information that I briefly talked about with Napoleon Hill. I'm going to get into Napoleon Hill's concept and how all of this ties together in another episode, but as I mentioned, for this episode, I really wanted to change and deepen your perspective of what focusing is and what intention setting is. Most importantly, intention setting. Part of setting an intention and manifesting it is focusing. But what we need to uncover is why this is even an intention. Every time I speak to women and I'm in circles and I have one-on-ones and we go deeper, a lot of the times the root of the intention is almost always an intention that was set by someone else. It's not even that person's intention. It's like their mother's intention or society's intention or what they believe society's intention is for them, how they believe they have to show up for other people and society. And that is simply not the case. This is the biggest disconnect we're having. This is why so many of us are unhappy following a life's purpose that doesn't belong to us, because we are literally manifesting intentions that were set by other people. In my personal experience, one of the most scariest journeys to walk on is the journey that solely belongs to me and my personal desires, and not worrying about what other people say about me or what other people think about me. That has been so hard for me, and I know that a lot of people resonate to taking action that is tied or corded to other people. I'm going to leave you with this week, and in a couple of weeks, we will dive in to what these two definitions led me towards. Thank you so much, as always, for supporting Let There Be Lose. If you appreciate this episode, I would love nothing more than for you to head over to iTunes, take 5 minutes, rate and review the podcast. Also, as I mentioned, if you want to go deeper, head over to Patreon. The link is in the bio, and join for $8 a month. I actually talked about this concept with my patrons not that long ago. So if you are loving this concept, head over there. There's a workshop that you can watch. There's several workshops that you can watch. And of course, there's tons of extended and behind the scenes content. I also most recently uploaded a video on my spiritual morning routine. It is a routine that I am currently loving, and it's also a routine that took me a really long time to create for myself. Head over there if you want to join the family, if you're feeling called to, if your intuition tells you to. I love you all so much. May the light within grow stronger.